Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our third webinar on NET Paper 1. Today, we'll be discussing a few previous year questions from different topics of UGC NET Paper 1. But before we begin, how are you currently preparing for the UGC NET exam? Share one tip that you find useful. You can speak up, you can share it in the chat box. Are you preparing it on your own? Have you opted for a course somewhere? If you are preparing it on your own, then what are the probable strategies you are using? Revising the previous questions. That's your strategy. Okay. Thank you, Sharmila ji, for answering. So there are 10 subtopics. There are 10 main topics and then a lot of subtopics in UGC NET paper 1. So amongst this, which topic or subtopic do you find the most challenging? Whether it is teaching aptitude or research aptitude or probably logical reasoning, or for someone who does not like the formulas of maths, probably maths and data interpretation is like higher education. A lot of rote memorization is essential, isn't it? Remembering all the dates and all the commissions that have come up. Okay. Thank you for answering, Pavitra. What else? What about others? Data analysis also. Yes. If your maths practice is a bit rusted, then logical reasoning, especially Indian logic. Yes. The names are very different. They are based in Sanskrit. Then sometimes even I feel that the meaning that we have in our current Hindi and vernacular languages is very different from the meaning that is given in the Indian logic system. So yes, understanding and memorizing all the kinds of policies that are given is again a challenge. Okay. So what is the one study habit that has worked for you? Probably you wake up early in the morning and study for 2 hours, or probably you are someone who's a night owl and somehow your body gets more energized and your brain wakes up at 10 in the night. So you are someone who's burning the midnight oil. So what's your strategy? Or are you someone who finds out time between different lectures, sessions, and at workplace only you do a lot of revision? Or someone likes taking notes, or someone probably solves more of previous year questions because the theory is already done. So which is the one studied habit that has worked for you? Morning time, revising and studying with fresh mind. Oh, for someone it could be night time as well. Okay, it completely depends on your biological clock. No judgment on that. What about others? Thank you, Pavitra, for sharing. What is the one study habit that works for you? You can speak up, you can share it in the chat box. If you share your habits, it will probably be helpful to other aspirants who are present in this session right now. I hope all of you are preparing, because 2 weeks ago we talked about a 45-day study plan, right? In which we had to cover a lot of theory of paper 1, along with, of course, working on your paper 2. So I hope you have started your preparations. It's hardly a month to the exam. And you don't have study habits, study strategies. So what's one study habit that has worked for you, Hirok? Come on, professors, teachers. This is a question that you usually ask your students. Now it's your time. What is the one study habit that works for you while you are preparing for competitive exams or UGC NET exam? Writing what is read is my studying habit. Taking notes. Yeah, writing helps in retention more than reading. So that's a good habit. What about others? If it worked, I won't be here, man. It's not that whether it works or not. It's just that the combination of what you have studied and what is asked in the exam has to be right. So for competitive exams, it's a lot of smart work, I would say, not just hard work, because you need to analyze and know which are the most scoring topics so that you spend your energy on the most scoring topics. And next is to solve previous year questions. And that is why this webinar, because this webinar is open to all, right? And the next strategy, like in the last 1 or 2 weeks, please solve at least 2 to 3 mock papers so that your mind gets a bit of it gets used to how you would have to work in an exam where for continuously 3 hours you would be answering questions, and it should not get fatigued. It develops the stamina. So ideally the practice has to be a lot more, but at least 3 mocks, studying topic wise plus previous year questions. That's a great strategy. That is what needs to be done. Okay, so let's go to solving the questions. But before that, just a small recap of something that we did in previous webinars. The strategy for solving MCQs. For the ones which you know the answer, great. But as we know, UGC NET so far has not mentioned that there would be any negative marking for wrong answers, which means our strategy has to be solving each and every question. You cannot leave a question blank. Now, for a question that you like, first round, you solve all the answers that you know at a glance. 1 minute, one question, 1 minute, one question. Second round, you go for those questions where you know the concept, but you are not sure about the answer. So for those questions, there are 2 strategies. First, elimination technique. So out of the options, look at them and think which are the 2 options which are surely not the answer. So now you are left only with 2 options. Okay? So not just 2. So start with 4 options. Remove the one which you feel ki ye to nahi ho sakta. This cannot be the answer. Then you go for one more. Then you are most of the times left with 2 options in which you have a doubt that it is either this or that. And then when you have to give the answer, at least it's the chances of it being correct becomes 50% instead of just 25%. That's one strategy. For questions of logical reasoning, wherein you have pattern kind of questions, that or a number series or an alphanumeric series, or a question where they say that PYZXQ is equal to LMNOP. Based on this, what is RSTUP? Something of that sort. So for those kind of questions, and for data interpretation where you have percentages and numbers are asked, the maths is at the level of not beyond 10 standard, but still, like when you have to solve under the pressure of time and where every question could give you 2 marks, Start with the options, check what fits the best. Okay. Sometimes when you are not sure about how to solve it, this is a way you can do that, especially in data interpretation and logical reasoning. Okay. So this is a strategy that you should use for those questions where you are not sure of the answer, but you have an idea of how to do it. The round two, round one, you solve all the answers that you know. In the first hour for paper one, you solve all the answers that you know. Round two, in the first round is 15 to 20 minutes. You should solve all the answers that you are sure of. Round two, probably 20-25 minutes you take, and you solve all those questions for which you are probably a bit confused, but at least you have heard of them. There you apply this strategy, and the last 10 to 15 minutes, in that leave 5 minutes for checking, just cross verifying whether you have marked the correct option. Even in 2 to 3 minutes, it can be done if you are someone who's good under pressure. 10 minutes, think about all those questions of which you have no idea, and it has come from an alien planet for you. At least mark something in those. Who knows? You still have a 25% chance of getting the answer correct. Okay. So that's a strategy that you use for answering questions. Coming to previous year questions. So I have taken 20 questions from different topics of paper one, the ones that I am good at. And the last is a reading comprehension, where you will read a comprehension passage and then solve 5 questions based on it. Okay. So that's the plan for today. So let's begin. These are questions from last year's paper. Okay, 2024 exam. So it's not very old questions. These are the recent questions, and I decided to do a special webinar on it so that you have an idea of what is the thinking, or probably how does UGC Net think of questions these days. Okay. So description of actual words, written or spoken, used to tell a story, and images or pictures come under the category of what? Is it a discourse? Is it an event? Is it a law? Is it a performance? You can write your answers in the chat box. You can also unmute yourself and say whatever is the answer. And we have to be a bit quick so that we can solve maximum questions. Discourse, okay. What about others? In exam, if we consider you have to solve 50 questions in 60 minutes, that's less than 1.5 minutes for each question. Okay. Performance, discourse. A lot of bias towards the answer at discourse, which is the correct answer. Next question. Which of the following are essential elements of mass communication? Electronic observation, technological medium, large audience, professional communicators, organizational structure. Now, from this, the combination of what is an correct answer when it comes to mass communication? Okay, 4. It's not that if one person says 4, everyone else has to say 4, okay? You can also make your own choice. Okay, everyone is preferring 4. The answer is 4. Next. This is a syllogism question. If the statement, some birds are not mammals, is given as true. Which of the following statements can be immediately inferred to be false? So if you are someone who knows how to draw Venn diagrams, then with this statement, you need to see what are the Venn diagrams which are possible, and that would help you write the answer. Some mammals are not birds. Some birds are not mammals. So some mammals are not birds. Some birds are not mammals. So all birds are mammals. Can be false. Okay. 1 and 4. We have two options. 3. No birds are mammals. Wow. Syllogism, no favoritism. Everyone has different answer. 4. Again. Anyone for 2? That some birds are not mammals. So some birds are mammals. No? Okay. So the answer is 4. How the answer is 4? See, I knew syllogism probably would need a bit of explanation. Some birds are not mammals. Okay. So that means there are two possibilities. Some birds here are not mammals, which means some birds are mammals. Okay. So some birds are mammal is true. That cannot be false. Some birds are not mammals. And some mammals are not birds. Okay, these mammals are not birds. So this is also true. Statement 1 and 2 are true based on this Venn diagram. The second option that can happen in terms of Venn diagram, some birds are not mammals. Okay, so none of the birds here are mammals. In that case also, some birds are not mammals is a true statement. Some birds are not mammals. So if all birds are not mammals, then also some birds are not mammals will be true. So some birds are not mammals gives us two possibilities. And based on this Venn diagram, statement 1 and 2 are right. And based on this Venn diagram, statement 3 is right. So what is false? All birds are mammals because some birds are not mammals. That's how you solve syllogism questions. Okay? Using Venn diagrams. That's the most easiest way to save time and understand. Please see there's an arrow kind of button for share screen. Please stop clicking on that. Okay? Whosoever is doing that. Next question. Indian logical reasoning, which a lot of people dread. Okay. According to Indian school of logic, Nyaya Shastra, which fallacy is committed in the following argument? Anything that is thinkable is nameable because it is thinkable. So here you need to know the first term, the middle term, the subject, the predicate. And think which fallacy is committed in the statement. Anything that is thinkable is nameable because it is thinkable. Sadharan is the answer. Anyone else wants to give a different answer? 1. Asadharan. Okay. Opposites. Anyone for 3 and 4? Okay. Okay. So the answer is 1. How? Because it is faulty generalization. So when you say anything that is thinkable is nameable, it assumes that if something is thought of, then it is nameable. Now this is an assumption. And based on this assumption is considered as a proof without sufficient justification. So an assumption cannot be a proof for something. Okay? When we say anything that is thinkable is nameable, that is an assumption. Now this assumption may or may not be true. But now we are saying that because it is thinkable, it is nameable. And that is why it is we can prove the statement that anything that is thinkable is nameable. So assumption is considered as the proof here, which is wrong. So that is why it falls in asadharan. That's what I say, that usually the meaning of the word asadharan is different for us. But here when it comes to Nyaya Shastra, it is this fallacy. Next, moving to ICT. Thank you. Moving to ICT. Which of the following electronic technologies is the key technology for making the first generation electronic computer? Okay, this is a question from History of Computers. Transistor based, integrated circuit based, vacuum tube based, dual core CPU based. First generation. 3. Others. 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Anyone for 4? Dual core CPU. It's the latest version, right? 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So the answer is actually 3. It was vacuum tube based. The computer was as large as the size of a room. Okay. There were a lot of tubes connecting everything. Till now we have those things of an entire room fitting in a small nano chip, which is sometimes even not visible to the naked eye. Okay. Next question. Which of the following statement best describes a block? So in ICT, for computer, you have a history of computer, understanding the software, understanding the hardware, and then a huge glossary of terms, which is and abbreviations that you need to memorize. A lot of it can be understood if you are someone who's already aware of what's happening on internet. But if you are not, then rote memorization is the only answer for it. Okay. Which of the following statements best describes a block? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay. A website that allows multiple users to collaborate and create information. A chronological list of posts on a website, typically written by a single author about a subject. A series of video or audio episodes that subscribers download or stream to their devices. A standardized format that allows users to subscribe to view content updates from a creator. We have answers ranging from 4, 2 and 4. You are giving me options. 2 and 4. That's what you shortlisted. Someone also said A. Okay. So 1, 2, and 4. So everyone sure that blog does not have video and audio episodes, a series of audio and video episodes, right? Okay. So see, a blog is never a website. It is not a website. 3, anyways, no one has answered. So I assume that, a blog is something that is text in it. When we say a standardized format that allows users to subscribe to view content or updates from a creator, it is something that gives you updates. It is not the actual text. And that is why your answer is a chronological list of posts. Okay. This is about viewing content updates. Next, again, a question from ICT. Trojan horse, worm, logic bomb, and rootkit. Now you have to match with these malwares. These are what in layman terms, what we call as viruses. So not every malware is a virus. So these malwares, Trojan horse, worm, logic bomb, and rootkit are 4 different kinds of malware. Layman terms, what we usually call as virus, but that's not the term for it. The term for it is malware. Which of this matches with it? Like propagates copies of itself through a network, triggers action when certain conditions occur, hooks standard OS calls to hide the existence of malware, and contains unexpected covert effect. Covert is secret or silent effect. So see, in this case, in this kind of questions, if you know E1 1, okay, you can just eliminate one or two options. And then you can check out if others match. Okay, that's the way to solve questions on this. So if I believe that Trojan horse is 2, just for example, then I have to see that where is the option Trojan horse is 2. And then I see that, okay, there are two options. Here there's one option, but let's assume there are two options in which A is matched with 2. So then we go and see that what about the other ones. That's how you solve this match kind of questions if you are not sure about the answer. So 2 or 4 are the two answers. I think someone has also said 3 to 4. So 1, everyone is sure, 1 is not there. 3, 2 and 4 are the favorites. 4 a bit more. Okay, so the answer is 4. Trojan horse contains unexpected covert effect. So if you remember the story of Trojan horse, it's brought inside the city walls, and then at night soldiers come out from it. So it has a secret effect, and that is why it's called a Trojan horse. A worm is something that reproduces itself. That's how you remember. Associate stories with it. That worm undergoes reproduction. If you have seen in their especially in the rainy season when they multiply in millions. So propagates copies of itself through network. A logic bomb triggers action when certain condition occurs. So when do you have condition, if and but? Because it's logic. And rootkit hooks standard OS. The OS is your operating system calls to hide the existence of malware. So root is the very basic core of your operating system. So that's rootkit. This is how you can remember this. Okay. Moving on to the next question. I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn. This was a statement by Swami Vivekananda, Albert Einstein, Sri Aurobindo, and Aristotle. The greatest thinkers, teachers of their time. 2, 1, 4, 1, 3. Okay, so this does not have logic. You just need to remember that this was a concept by Albert Einstein. That I never teach my students, I only give them the conditions in which they can learn. Okay. Next, which of the following correctly represent characteristics of teaching? To provide guidance and training to students, interaction between authorities, to provide formal and informal education, and art to import knowledge to students in an, it would be, I think it should be impart knowledge, but anyways, to students in an effective way, to prepare policies for corporate bodies. So which of these are characteristics of teaching? Providing guidance and training, interaction with authorities, provide formal and informal education, impart knowledge to students in effective way, and prepare policies for corporate bodies. What's your choice? Three. Lots of threes. Yeah, being as we all know what consists of teaching. Great. 3 is your answer. So just for those who were a bit confused, A, C, and D, to provide guidance and training to students, to provide formal and informal education, and to impart knowledge to students in an effective way. Interacting with authorities and preparing policies for corporate bodies is not teaching. Although teachers do admin work, that is not called teaching. Okay. Next. Again, a statement, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. So man is already perfect, but the manifestation is through education. 4, 2, 4. Okay. 2 and 4. 4. See, here you can give answers, okay? Maximum, it would be wrong. It's not going to cost you marks here. But at least if you give answer here, you are training your brain to think of answers for questions that you already know the answer and for questions that you do not know. Okay? 3, 4. Okay. So let's see what the answer is. The answer is 4. It's a statement by Swami Vivekananda. Next, Devarshi Narad is treated as the first communicator. Okay, this is a question from the paper. Huh? I have not made it on my own. Devarshi Narad is treated as the first communicator because he always speaks against others. He reports from the spot, mediates among the parties, and thinks for betterment of society. He is not everywhere every time, and he is faithful to his Lord. 2. So when it comes to communication, speaking against others cannot be considered good communication. He is not everywhere every time is again nowhere related to it. And faithful to Lord has got absolutely no connection with first communicator, right? So then what remains is your answer. Who invented the printing process? Now, this kind of questions are sometimes asked because printing process is what results in printing of books and paper today, an integral part of education. So 3 and 4 are two favorite options here. And the answer is 4. Johannes Gutenberg. Okay. So Tang dynasty is Tang dynasty from China, like someone from Tang dynasty probably did it that way. Johannes Gutenberg, if you know, there's a Gutenberg project wherein books for which the copyright has expired are uploaded and made accessible to people all over the world. That's called Project Gutenberg, if you are aware of it. Okay. If you don't know, just Google it, you will know. It has got all the books for which the copyright has expired. So it's mostly books older than 20 years. They are available to you to read for free. You can also download it. Okay. It's a project which makes books accessible to the people, free of cost. Which of the following types of write the following types of communication in proper sequence. Group, public, mass communication, intrapersonal, interpersonal. So when we say proper sequence, it has to be either ascending order or descending order. One. Okay. Apart from 1. No one has any confusion between intrapersonal and interpersonal? 3, 2. Okay. 1, 2. Great. I'm so happy to see people answering. Whether your answer is correct or wrong, answering is important because you can't leave a question unanswered. 25% chance of getting it right. Okay. So intrapersonal is your communication with your own self. Interpersonal is between two people. Then there's a group communication. Public is like 200, 300 people. And mass communication is when it goes on television and YouTube where the number can reach millions and billions. Okay. So that's the sequence. If we had an option starting with C, B, A, E, D, that would also have been the correct answer because they have not mentioned from smaller to bigger or bigger to smaller. That's why they have not given such an option. Okay, the reverse order could also be a completely correct answer. Ascending or descending, increasing in size or decreasing in size, both would be correct answers in this kind of question. Which of the following is not a common pattern of deductive reasoning? Apart from 4? Four is your answer. Okay. In inductive and deductive, this is a part of inductive and deductive reasoning. It's part of the logical reasoning. It's a theory-based question from logical reasoning. Okay. Now, again, this is also a question from logical reasoning where you have to match the terms. Statement, premise, conclusion, and argument. These are the basic terms used in logical reasoning. So, which term means what? A statement in an argument that is intended to be proved or supported by the premises, a sentence that can be viewed as true or false, group of statements intended to prove or support one another, supports another statement, and reason why we should accept another statement or conclusion. 4. Okay. Others give an answer. At least try. At the worst, it would be wrong. And if it is wrong, you will not lose your marks. But at least you will train your brain to think of answers for questions that you are not sure of or for which you don't know the answer. 2, 4. Good. Thank you. That's the spirit. The answer is 2. No, not 3. A sentence that can be viewed as true or false. That's your statement. It could be true, it could be false. What's your premise? Just a second. Is your conclusion. Okay, that's right. Reason why we should accept another statement on conclusion. See, conclusion. Now, conclusion is what you need to prove whether this is true or false. And how do you prove whether the conclusion is true or false? Using arguments. Group of statements intended to prove or support other statement. So that's your argument. That's your D. Okay. Yeah, for a second, I was also confused with all the 4s if I had marked the wrong answer. No, the answer is 2. Okay. The scariest question. Indian logic system. Upanay, Paramarsh, Vyapti, Paksha Dharmat. The knowledge of Paksha Dharmat as qualified by Vyapti. The invariable relation or association of the middle term in the minor term. The application of the universal concomitance to the present case. And the invariable association of the middle term with the major term. So for this, knowing the major term, the minor term, the middle term, and the connections between the two, so you will know what are the different reasonings and the fallacies. Okay. Use examples. If these are the questions that confuse you, use examples. Okay, we have an answer. 3. 4. Come on, try everyone. This is a question anyway that most people try, right? But you can't leave it blank. You still have to give an answer in your exam. Who knows if it's right or wrong? So the answer is 4. Okay, but thank you everyone who attempted the answer, because that's how you start training your mind to think in a strategic way. Okay, so OpenAI is the application of universal concomitance to the present case. Paramarsh is the knowledge of Paksha Dharmat as qualified by Vyapti. See, this statement itself tells you that it cannot be Paksha Dharmat and it cannot be Vyapti. So C and D cannot be 1. Even if you don't know anything, this eliminates your option 2 and 3. Now you only have option 1 and 4 to choose. If I didn't know anything about this topic, then this is how I would go. Okay? Then Vyapti is the invariable association of the middle term with the major term, and Paksha Dharmat is the invariable relation or association of middle term in the minor term. Okay? Next question. ChatGPT, everyone's favorite. What is the full form of ChatGPT? Chat generative pre-trained transmission, chat general pre-trained technology, and please don't Google the answer, okay? You're not getting marks here and you won't get Google in exam. Chat generalized pre-trained technique and chat generative pre-trained transformer. This is so that we can practice it for the exam. If you give the wrong answer here and I tell you the right answer, you will remember it. If something is asked like this in the exam, you will not have to think again. You will know the correct answer. So please don't Google it. Our mind remembers our mistakes always. Okay, so the answer is 4. Thank you everyone for answering. It is called chat generative pre-trained transformer. That's what's the full form of ChatGPT. Next. Digital initiatives in higher education. Okay. It is also considered one of the subtopics in ICT. Jian, Imprint to DigiLocker, Swayam. Translation of research knowledge into viable technology, products and processes. Achieve 3 cardinal principles of education policy, namely access, equity and quality. Tap the talent pool of scientists and entrepreneurs internationally. Issuance and verification of documents and certificates in a digital way. 4 and 4. What about others? You've never heard of any of these? Swayam, at least one question is going to come. So far, based on the pattern that I have seen, MOOC and Swayam, like basic MOOCs, and in all of that, Swayam. These are the 2 favorite topics when it comes to digital initiatives. Okay, either they will ask you questions related directly where somewhere you have the word MOOC, or you are going to have something related to Swayam. Whether it is the quadrants, whether it is the full form, whether it is what gives you certification, Swayam, where credits can be shifted to university. Swayam question is going to be there. It's very, very important for the examiners. Okay. So please don't forget to prepare Swayam. And once you know out of this what is Swayam, if you know what is DigiLocker, and Gian is actually Gyan, the English version of it, you, even if you don't know what is Imprinto, you can answer the question. Okay. So the answer is 4, where A, Gyan is talent full of scientists and entrepreneurs. See, so when we read it in English, it becomes Gian. And that's why I deliberately read it as Gian so that you don't associate it with Gyan. Okay. GIAN is Gyan related to scientists and entrepreneurs. Talent pool. Imprint 2 is translation of research knowledge into viable technology. DigiLocker is issuance and verification of documents and certificates in a digital way. DigiLocker is where you can store all your documents and certificates, including things like your mark sheets, driver's license, PAN card, Aadhaar card, everything can be stored there. It also has a digital signature. So whenever you are filling form for anything that is related to government or an exam by central government, or probably any scheme you are taking benefit of, you can directly upload your documents from DigiLocker and they are considered as verified. Okay. And last but the most important, Swayam, achieve 3 cardinal principles of education policy: access, equity, and equality. It is accessible to all for free of cost. Only if you want certificate and credits, you have to give proctored exams and pay a small amount of fee, and those credits can be included in your university. Up to 40% of credits can be earned from Swayam. Okay. And they try to bring the best quality teachers, to give recordings of the quality teachers, and it is accessible to even rural areas which have which are connected to internet in some or other way. Okay. For places which are not connected to internet, you have Swayam Prabha, 34 DTH channels of education. Okay. So next question. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. Connect it with e-tutorial, e-content, web resources, self-assessment. For the ones who paid attention to when I was describing the previous question, you would know the answer. You would at least know what is being asked here. 1. Others? This is a question about 4 quadrants of Swayam. Swayam, NPTEL, and there's one more. It evades my mind. IIT Bombay X and MOOCit by Kanpur IIT. These 4 websites. Go open, create an account, browse through it, take a feel of it. You will not need to memorize all the information related to that. 4 important MOOCs of related to education: NPTEL, MOOCit, IIT Bombay X, and Swayam. Go to those websites, create an account, take a feel of how it looks and feel to study there or to work on it. You will not need to memorize things. You will have that image in your mind where you will know what quadrant relates to what. Okay? That's the trick. Because if you just memorize, you can forget. But if you have experience, like if I tell you how does Netflix look, what's the logo, when Netflix opens, what's the sound that comes, or when Jio Hotstar opens, what kind of music is being played, you will know it. Why? Because you have opened it, you have experienced it, that every time you open Jio Hotstar, there's going to be a certain kind of music and this is how the logo dances. Similarly, go to this MOOCs and experience them, so that you don't need to memorize the information. You need to, but it will retain longer. And the last is our reading comprehension. There are 4 passages. These are the first 2 passages. I'm giving you 2 minutes to read them and 2 more minutes to read other 2 passages. You will have to go by that speed, right? 5 questions should ideally be 7 to 8 minutes. I'm still going to give you 10, 12 minutes to solve. So first read the passage. Start reading the passage. You have 2 minutes. These are the first 2 paragraphs, 2 more paragraphs coming up. Moving on. Okay. So this is, you cannot take any more time than this to read the paragraph once. The first question, who is A.K. Ramanujan compared to in the text? Chomsky, Sigmund Freud, Brunvand, British milliners. Who is A.K. Ramanujan compared to in the text? Just a moment. Chomsky, food, promote. 2024. These are last year questions. You can take a screenshot of either the passage or the question, because here I will be able to show you only one at a time. Okay, two. So if you see here, A.K. Ramanujan was one of the thinkers like Freud, Sigmund Freud. Pardon if I'm probably pronouncing his name incorrect. Two is your answer. That's somewhere Freud or something. Okay, that's your answer. Next, question number 2. What did Ramanujan teach in America? Process raw fibers in British mills, weave theories, folk tales, poems, and books, only Sanskrit literature, only English literature. Again, what did Ramanujan teach in America? Process raw fibers in British mills, weave theories, folk tales, poems, and books, only Sanskrit literature, only English literature. For those who want to go back to the reference of the passage, this is the passage. So if you see here in the passage, it says that, okay, it says that usually when scholars were, Indian scholars were mainly used as sources of information about language and text, like the raw fiber that were taken from India to be processed. But seldom scholars who might their ideas on how to process those texts, like how to weave a theory, a folk tale, a poem, or a book. Okay, so this is where your answer lies. For someone who gets confused between 1 and 2, see, the words raw fiber are mentioned in the passage. If you just go by the keywords, then you will find even Sanskrit literature is mentioned here. So if you look at the word Sanskrit, then you will feel that probably that is also mentioned in the passage. You don't have to go by what keywords are mentioned in the passage. You have to comprehend or understand the context in which it is said. Okay. So like here it is written that he taught them how to weave a theory, a folktale, or a poem or a book. So that is where your answer lies. In 2. Question number 3. The languages that Ramanujan tried to bring to limelight in Indological studies is Greek and Latin, only Sanskrit, Tamil, Bengali, and other mother tongues, French and German. I'm reading the question again. The languages that Ramanujan tried to bring limelight in Indological studies, Greek and Latin, only Sanskrit, Tamil, Bengali, and other mother tongues, and French and German. So for your reference of the passage, So option 1 is Greek and Latin. Option 2 is only Sanskrit. Option 3 is Tamil, Bengali and other mother tongues. And option 4 is French and German. Okay. So here if you see, Greek and Latin are mentioned, Sanskrit is also mentioned, but when it is talked about Ramanujan, Sir Ramanujan, it is said that he proclaimed, if you see the last sentence in third paragraph, proclaiming to the world the relevance of Tamil and Bengali and other mother tongues. That is where you get your answer. So your answer is 3. Okay, we still have 2 more questions remaining from the passage. Ramanujan emphasized on the criticism on the British means creating controversies in American Indological studies, a path through Indological studies, and the study of Western languages only. Please take a screenshot of the question. I'll open the passage. The criticism on British means creating controversies in American Indological studies, a path through Indological studies, and the study of Western languages only. So you see British meals are there, such studies of different kinds. Indological studies are also mentioned quite a few times. Okay, so if you see the last paragraph, he did not, as we saw in the previous question, he talked about studying Bengali, Tamil, mother tongue, right? And there's no mention of criticism on British meals, and he also did not create controversies. If you see the conclusion of the last paragraph, or probably what we understand from reading the last paragraph, that he blazed a great path through the center of Indological studies. So he probably gave a new vision and he gave new paradigms, new point of view that no Indologist can now think about India without thinking through his thoughts. So a path through Indological studies is your answer. And the last question, who were the founding fathers that Ramanujan joined in Chicago? British mill owners, American Indological establishment leaders, Edward C. Demock and others, Greek and Latin scholars. Reading the question again. Who were the founding fathers that Ramanujan joined in Chicago? British mill owners, American Indological establishment leaders, Edward C. Demock and others, Greek and Latin scholars. I think the answers are already there, right? By now, you have already read the passage several times to find out answers. So you can see that in third paragraph, second last line, Ramanujan arrived in Chicago to join Edward C. Demock and other founding fathers in proclaiming to the world the relevance of dash, dash, dash. So that is how it goes. So he joined Edward C. Demock and other founding fathers. So that would be your answer. Okay. So that concludes our practice of previous year questions. For those who are already part of our UGC NET Paper 1 crash course, you know that we have been taking the sessions and the recording are made available to the students for their reference till the date of exam. Okay, we have completed the first week from the 4 weeks, but the recordings are available for the first week. We are going to cover all the topics of paper 1, all the important subtopics of the main topics, and also practice of previous year questions along with that. Our resource persons are Dr. Shriya Tripathi, Professor Agast Muni Mishra, and myself. We have started with teaching aptitude and people development and environment, where the recordings are already available to the students. We'll be continuing with higher education, research aptitude, mathematical reasoning, data interpretation, communication, comprehension, logical reasoning, and ICT in the upcoming weeks. The format is daily 2-hour live sessions from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It is interactive, just like the session today, and you can ask questions to the resource person. Recordings are available for a limited time, that is until the exam happens. E-certificate of participation is provided. Okay. So, as it is our pilot launch, we have kept the prices 999 only, which is way lower than what is the market price of lowest 2500, because it's the first time that we have started this. In coming times, we would be charging more, but being the pilot batch, you get the benefit of getting access to studying of all topics and also the recordings only in the nominal price of 999. So if you are interested, if you are not already a participant, and then you can join our course. The registration link, so can we share the registration link in the chat box? Let's wait a second. I'll do that. Okay, so I've shared a link that is the registration link for this course, and you will be given access to the previous week's recordings as well. Okay, if you join us even after first week, because it's just 1 week. If you feel that the live sessions and interacting with faculties would be helpful, if you want to prepare a crash course and not on your own, if you are someone who is not consistent in preparation, this might be of a lot of help to you. For those who have enrolled in our paper 2 course, the paper 2 classes begin at 8:15 p.m. So you will not be missing out on anything, because paper 1 classes are from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay.